I know you're listening. You're here because something isn't right. Something feels twisted, upside down. Things don't add up. Hello, human. Welcome to our twisted universe. In this episode, we speak with multidimensional teacher and healer for the new Atlantis Rising, Ameera Atlantis.
Hi, and welcome to our Twisted Universe. Today, we're going to be talking to Ameera Atlantis. She is a multidimensional teacher, a healer for the new Atlantis Rising. She's our resident mermaid, and we're so happy to have you today, Ameera. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Christy and Joe, for having me here. It's very exciting to speak, and I'm happy to be with you both. Christy, you and I have known each other for, I don't know, 10 years from back in the Vancouver days, right? It's so good to reconnect.
You had a profound change in my life. You were one of the first healers and teachers that I went to, and I took classes with you, and I had such an amazing experience learning about the chakras, life-changing experience. You're an incredible teacher, by the way. And during those classes, you told us about your awakening experience, and I found it to be really unique and incredible. It was kind of mind-blowing at the time. I have a deeper understanding of it now, all these years later. But I wanted to bring you on today to talk a little bit about that and your healing courses and energy work. Do you think you could tell us a little bit about waking up and how that started for you?
Yep, and I'll just start by saying that for anybody out there who's listening to this, if you've recently gone through an awakening, or if you're looking back at your spiritual awakening, like it's not always like the fun, magical world that we think it is. I remember in the early days of having my awakening, and I was kind of late in life, like I was 37 or 38 when I had my awakening. And I just thought I was going to be like a wife and a mother in Phoenix, Arizona. I just thought that was going to be, my lot in life, and that was going to be fine. And when I had, my final moment of being hit with the 2x4 and being smacked awake, like it wasn't pretty and it wasn't fun. It was actually kind of devastating in a ways, because when we go through our awakening process, and for me, I was sitting in Phoenix, Arizona, and I had about a 1-year-old baby, driving a minivan, living in the suburbs, and I was watching this show on Oprah about women around the world who were 30, and listening to and watching what their life was like for them wherever they lived. And with some of the women, I had a little bit in common with. But most of them, I had absolutely nothing in common with them. And I was listening to their stories. And many of them had lived through some really deep atrocities in life, like things that I had never experienced in my, suburban housewife life. But I found that each woman who spoke, no matter how similar or different our lives were, I felt myself drawn and connected to them in a way I could not describe. And I actually sat and sobbed through the entire episode, because as I looked at every single one of those women, I felt she was me. Like I felt that was me talking to me. I saw myself in their eyes. And I had never had that kind of an experience with anyone before, not my family, not my girlfriends, nobody. And it was so it was so strange to be so incredibly emotionally connected, and like just tears flowing, and my heart, what was happening is my heart chakra was opening. And back then I didn't even know what a chakra was. Right. All I know is for days I couldn't get those women out of my mind. And I went to the person that I was married to, and days later, and I was like, I don't know what's happening to me. I saw these women on Oprah and I can't stop thinking about them. I just love them. And he's like, I don't know what's wrong with you either. And so that moment was the catalyst of spirit finally kind of breaking through that show on Oprah and opening my heart chakra and reminding me of all the things that I was meant to do in this life that I had forgotten in my, Catholic raised, traditional, very in the box kind of life. So that was like the setting off point, and now looking back, and you probably can relate to this too, Christy and Joe, like once you have that moment of being shocked awake, you look back and you go, okay, spirit was trying to do this and show me this way and do this and show me this way. And I didn't pay attention and I didn't see, and too much time went on. So bang, got the 2x4, right? Here I am.
That actually just happened to one of my friends.
Yeah.
She put an evil eye up in her bedroom. They're for protection.
Yeah.
I think what happened was it like cleared the pathway because all of a sudden she started getting messages and downloads.
I think it sucked everything out of the room or out of her space that was preventing her from seeing through the veil or moving through that, through that energy.
Yeah, it was quite shocking. And it's like, I hear these stories so often and it just is that one thing. And then forevermore,
forevermore, you're different. And once there's, waking up, there's no going back to sleep. I ended up ultimately going a few weeks later to a woman who had been my psychic and mentor for many years in Phoenix, and sitting down in front of her because I was becoming so different. I was hearing my name called in the middle of the night. I started reading, books by Wayne Dyer and having all these existential experiences and not feeling like I was in my body anymore. Kind of feeling like I was going crazy. and I didn't know what was happening. So, I went to her several weeks after that and I sat down in front of her and I began to cry. And I said, Amy, I don't know what's going on with me. I feel like I'm going crazy. I saw this show on Oprah. I'm reading this book. Like I'm just not myself anymore. I don't know what's going on. And she looked at me, she says, oh, you woke up. Congratulations. I've been waiting years for this. And I looked at her and I said, put me back to sleep. I don't like this. She says, no, once the awakening starts, there's no going back. And you're here to be more than a mother and a housewife, and you're going to be teaching these classes and leading these drum circles and doing this. And I just sat there dumbfounded. I'm like, are you sure? Right. Oh, and you're going to move back to Portland. And she kind of laid out the next years of my life, about the different experiences and things I would be going through, moving into this purpose of this calling. And she told me that I was really here to be a teacher and a leader for women, mostly. So I left there feeling very stunned and amazed, but also like I had purpose. Like that moment, they say there's 2 great moments in your life, the day you're born and the day you find out why. And and I was like, oh my God, I actually have a purpose on this planet. And that what she said felt so weird, but also felt so right to my soul that I immediately just dove headfirst into every book that I could read. I started meditating. I started like learning and catching up, I guess, on everything that I'd forgotten for 38 years. My husband didn't know what was happening to me. He was like, I can't really relate to you anymore. What? He wasn't having his awakening. I was only having mine. And that dynamic was very difficult. So for anybody out there who is in a relationship, or even if you're not in a relationship, but you're surrounded by people who don't understand because they're not having that personally, that is normal. That's oftentimes
they fall away. And
part of the journey, and it's very lonely.
Yes.
It can be a very lonely and isolating. I did not have anybody in my sphere, no friends, no family, no partnerships who really understand what was happening within me. And I really had to overcome that sense of not fitting in anymore in any respect, and find and figure out who my tribe was, like who my people were and who might understand me, because I was so quickly becoming so different, because I knew I had to stay true to this path and this calling and follow and figure out what spirit really wanted me to do.
That's incredible. When I woke up, we had a conversation. I was like, we have to stay level here
Yeah.
somewhat. And I was like, I don't know what to do with all that. I kind of had a similar kind of feeling, like I have to go. I have to do this.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
she's like, I'm going. Are you going with me or are you staying behind? And I'm like, well, and I was thinking in my mind, I'm like, well, you've caught up with me to a degree, and now we can carry forward.
I love it. I love it.
So
So
yeah,
you're very blessed that you have a partnership where you could continue the journey together, and one person grows and the other one grows, and then the other person grows and the other one comes along, and it becomes a symbiotic process. For me, the person I was married to ultimately was not meant to continue the journey with me. We had a family together, and it was very difficult. The disillusion of our marriage and our partnership. That was a very brave process that I had to move through, because he just didn't want to. His soul wasn't here to do it.
yeah.
It wasn't that I was any better or whatever, but his soul just was not here to continue that process and journey. And he needed to go on the path where he was most aligned, and in a partnership where there was a good alignment, as did I. And so as I continued on, to do my studies and meditate and learn, I came across past life regression therapy and started reading books by Dolores Cannon and Dr. Brian Weiss. And at the same time was having these experiences in my body during meditation where, my arms would move by themselves, independent of my will. My whole body would move, and these graceful kind of swimmy movements. And I didn't know what was happening within me. Like all I knew is if I went to other people and did these spiraling movements, I could help take away headaches. I could soothe my children. Like there was obviously some kind of energy transmission happening. So I went to a past life regression therapist, and let her give me a regression. And I found myself on her couch in the trance, in the hypnosis. And immediately I somatically, physically went into the water and started doing this up and down on her couch, exclaiming, I'm a mermaid, I'm a mermaid. And in my mind, I'm thinking, this woman's going to think I'm crazy, because I didn't think mermaids were a real thing back then. Like I had no idea that they weren't anything but in fairy tales, right? But here I was having this full-blown body experience of swimming down through the water towards an underwater city, right? Exclaiming, I'm a mermaid, and there's a city and there's other mer people, and having this full-blown remembrance. I come up out of the trance, and I have this whole, story about my life, or my soul being Mer, that I've reported to the regression therapist, and she was great. She was just like, tell me more the whole time. What else is going on? Very encouraging for me to live through that lens of remembrance. And that incident, that session of finding out my Mer origins, and that I'm actually an incarnated Mer person from Atlantis, here to talk about the great kingdom of Atlantis and the Mer people, transformed my perception of not only who I thought I was, but who we all are, because we all come from somewhere else. Our human suits that we're wearing are just like one stream or one aspect of the oversoul and the totality, the multidimensionalness of the great beings we are, right? So me owning and acknowledging the fact that I am a Mer person, incarnated as human, and I have a mission here to talk and share, the kingdom of Atlantis, the Atlantean wisdom philosophy, and share that via, YouTube videos, courses, and all the things that I offer. What that has done, my courage to step into that, is allowed other people who not only feel that they are Mer, because there's lots of us, but know that they are star seeds, or know that they are, fairy energy, wherever your soul maybe comes from, whatever galaxy or star system or universe. I've helped many, many people step into their galactic self, their multidimensional self, to understand why they feel different, why you feel different, why maybe you feel like you've never belonged or you've never fit in here on the planet. Well, you are different. Your soul is from somewhere else. And when somebody lets you understand, remember, acknowledge that, and you can be validated, that is for your human self here, that's very life-changing. That's very like, oh, okay, I get it now. And now what can I do with this remembrance, that I am a Pleiadian starseed, or that I'm Mer, or that I'm from the angelic realm? How do I utilize that on this planet, on this timeline, to help myself and maybe help others in the world?
So how do you find out what you are? Is it you do a past life regression to find it like you did?
Past life regression, or a soul progression, which is where I take you into a etheric healing space and let you go into a healing room you create in your mind's eye, and meet with your guides and angels, or go to that place, that origin of your soul. Some people have a pretty good idea. They really feel drawn to something or someone or an era. And we can set the intention that you visit that. Some have no idea. They just need to discover that. And so we go on a journey together through the hypnosis or trance to find that out.
That's incredible.
I feel like we both knew each other in the 40s, and then I have a lot of draw to like ancient periods. Not so much the last, like the 1800s, or maybe a little bit 1700s, but like ancient, like Greek and Roman times. I'm of Norse descent to a degree, and that's part of me. I'm a mixture, but I feel a connection to that. And then an interesting thing, probably just because I grew up in the Northwest, but I feel a very strong connection to the mythos and the culture, the Northwest Indian culture and art, and their mythology.
So you probably have lifetimes within all of those eras and all of those soul groups. So you probably have some literal DNA, and then also we have spiritual DNA. We have DNA. There are many people who some will remember being like maybe in a Norse lifetime, but they don't carry that DNA in their literal body, but their spiritual DNA is maybe from some place that they remember or feel very strongly drawn to. So I would just trust yourself, with all of that.
Would somebody have to come to your place in Hawaii to have a session, or is that something you do?
Well, that would be great if you come to Kauai, but no, because I live on an island. About 99% of all my work is through Zoom or over the phone if we have to. And a regression or an intuitive reading or the Atlantean energy clearings, all the things I do are just as effective. I mean, as we know now, technology it's the way we're all communicating and doing everything. So a Zoom call or whatever like this is usually what I do.
That's amazing. You just have to free your mind a little bit, because intentions are real and there is long distance healing. I mean, it's just like being in the room.
Yeah. Energy knows no time or space or limitations. And when two come together, in the presence of spirit and make that triad of energy, really great things can happen.
I gotta try that. I really would like to do that. I haven't done any past life regressions. I've done I've done some meditations, but I haven't really worked with a healer or a teacher, and I think that would just be So fascinating.
Well, and regressions can be useful for many things. You can find out more about your soul origins or your life purpose. It's also very useful for going in and discovering where, if you have some kind of, problem or situation in this life, maybe you're in the same relationship patterns, maybe you have a health issue, maybe you have, whatever, we can go into that root lifetime where that situation was created and find out why and heal the other and another thing to say is it's not really even a past life. Time is simultaneous. Time is not linear. It's all happening at the same time. We say past life, but it's really a simultaneous lifetime. So we go visit that simultaneous life person, find out what's going on in their world and in their reality, heal them and heal you, because it's both you and it's all happening at once.
The whole quantum entanglement thing.
Yes. Yes. And guys, don't overthink it. Don't overthink the whole, how does that time and space and reality work? Just know that, instead of thinking about time as a linear concept, past, present, future, that think about time maybe being on a spiral, something like this. And there are different layers on the spiral, different realities happening at the same time. And you exist in many planes at once. So it's all happening at once because it's all you living in these different, dimensional layers.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's our souls looking for different challenges and adventures and lessons?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
What is Earth?
I mean, we get bored.
It's really for entertainment.
Yeah, entertainment. Yeah. And well, and so many of us on this moment in time are really we're here for more than just a fun experience or an exciting or a challenge. We're really here to be changers, change agents for the whole trajectory of the planet that has been kind of encapsulated in, oh gosh, what's the best way to put it? In a lot of challenges and in a lot of control and things and elements and powers that keep us from really living our highest, greatest selves, living our truth, living in our sovereignty, and living as free people.
Do you think that's tapping our energy and that's feeding them? It's so odd because I've heard this concept before and I 100% believe it's true. I mean, there's a lot of weird frequencies and things affecting us. And it's like, all of a sudden you're mad for no reason. You're just sitting there and then you're mad. Why does that happen?
Well, there are all kinds of mechanisms, control mechanisms in place. We're affected by the food we eat, the air we breathe, the water we drink. All of that has become very infected and toxic. We are affected by frequencies, by the 5G. We're affected by the media. So there are many, many things that are kind of working against us, really come into our fullest selves. The solutions to that, when you're coming through your awakening and you're recognizing and realizing oh my God, this place is not what I thought it was. And you get kind of pissed because you're finding out the truth, right? Yes. Awakening is not always a beautiful experience. When you start doing that shadow work within yourself, and when you start realizing, the movie stars you're looking at are, who they really are, and the demonic forces and the satanic forces, and that a lot of our reality has been so contrived, you can get kind of pissed.
Yeah.
It can be pretty brutal. And so if you are having that experience of really recognizing and realizing that we have been spoon-fed a long straw drip of bullshit, I'm gonna put it very plainly, and trying to come up out of that, the movie, the Matrix series was documentary. I mean, that's really true. The how you can kind of balance that or come up out of that or learn to heal that is you have to first and foremost remember that we all have chosen to be here. We all made the choice, in my belief system, consciously, to come down to this planet and be a part of what's happening, and also be a part of not only discovering the truth, but discovering the the solutions, right? My main quest or mission here is to help co-create the new Earth, Atlantis. Atlantis was a great civilization that existed 5 incarnations. The last fall was 13,000 years ago. And in the golden heydays of Atlantis, it was a utopian society where technology and science were kind of second to Mother Nature, to human nature, to love, and to community, common unity. The fall of Atlantis 13,000 years ago, you know, the concept of that fall and the fallout from it, where technology and science overtook, you know, our humanity and our connection to nature and our connection to source, has really created this massive imbalance that has reverberated not only onto planet Earth timelines, but really throughout the entire cosmos, because the beings in Atlantis were from everywhere. They came from everywhere to participate in the great experiment experience of Atlantis. So when Atlantis fell, because, you know, the bad guys came in and started to trick the teachers and the leaders and the philosophers out of their, you know, out of their connection to source. When that happened, we've been waiting 13,000 years to really repair and resurrect that spiral of time and bring back what I call the new Earth Atlantis, where we can once again understand that connection to each other, that connection to source, and live through our connection to God and nature as we were intended.
My soul wants that so bad. Like, I think about it all the time.
Yeah.
How nice it would be to put humanity first, and the animals and the earth, and
Yep.
lifting each other up instead of feeding off of each other. I mean, it's almost like upside down, it feels.
It is. Everything has been reversed. The symbols have been reversed. You know, the geometries have been inversed. Everything has become an inversion. And everything that we worship out there in the world, in the exterior world, is an inversion of our connection to source. So again, if you are kind of coming through your own understanding that, you know, everything in this world is not what you thought it was, we're in this kind of Alice in Wonderland, you know, always go back to the idea that you are eternally connected to source. No matter what has happened to you in this life or any other, you are never separated from source. We are eternal beings. So many beings on this planet, as we go through the course correction of the spiral, is what I call it. Many beings did not sign up to go all the way. And many beings just aren't going to do maybe the work that's involved to go all the way back to course correcting that 13,000 year spiral. Now, the good news is it's not going to take 13,000 years, but we still are in the throes of some very dark and heavy times where it's going to take all of us coming into our love, our belief, our sovereignty, our realization with community again, to help, you know, flip the script and put us back on the track where we can go back to the original times of Lemuria and Atlantis, and live in those utopian times where we know ourselves to be connected to everything and everyone.
That's incredible. Do you think we're going to see it in our lifetime, or?
I believe that we are in for this decade to be really, really difficult. Like, we've kind of bottomed out. And although the timelines, there are many forces helping us with timelines. There are many angels and archangels and galactic beings that are putting those of us who have decided to go with the New Earth Ascension and are working and actively living through that on a different timeline. It's just not always obvious in the exterior world. So the answer to your question, Christy, is yes. I actually do believe that in our lifetime, because the separation of worlds and timelines is happening, and you know that what timeline you're on by the life that you are experiencing. Yes, we all see what's going on the news, the fake news, and we
Right.
see what's going on in politics, and we see what's happening in our food supply. We see all these things that in a reality are happening. But we also see, like for me, my life has never been happier, felt more supported. I have never really been personally in a better space and time than I am now, because my reality as a 5D and above being is I'm anchored into that. So you kind of start to live two realities. You kind of start to be in the world, but not of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you understand that there is this 3D game that is playing out, but you also you don't have to adhere vibrationally or frequency wise to that game. And you discover another way, or your soul remembers another way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's so easy to get your blinders on and distracted. And I mean, just was it yesterday? Joe unplugged all the Alexas
Yeah,
because we feel like it's emitting a frequency, and probably not in our
yes,
good
And the
yeah.
ears toned down
It did.
noticeably.
dramatically.
Yep, the technology is a great thing in many ways. It's how we're doing this. It really is to support us and to be an asset to our life. But the dark side of the technology is they always know what we're doing. That's always beaming something in through your electronic devices, through your Siri, Alexis, that are vibrational or frequency diminishers. So as a person, me, and I think you too, who aspire to maintain my frequency and my consciousness as high as possible, there's work that we have to do. There's work that we have to do on the inner, and then there's work that we can do also in our energy field and our 13 chakras and in our auric field, kind of protection, I guess I'll call it, or shielding, clearing, all those things that we have to learn to do within and around us, and to remain in dominion over our energy and our frequency. And it's up to each individual to figure out or to learn and apply methods to do that.
Do you think that's a daily practice? People
Yes,
should, yeah.
absolutely. It's a daily practice that kind of has to become like a muscle memory within you. That's another thing I'm very, very good at doing, is teaching the Atlantean 13 chakra and aura clearing system, and giving people tools through sacred geometry, through Metatron's cube, how to help themselves. Because it's great to have an energy person, a healer, clear you, but you're not going to stay that way unless you learn and practice tools, and unless you learn to change your thoughts, your consciousness,
Absolutely.
okay, your beliefs, learn to look at your shadows and your triggers, right? And make your way through that very kind of sometimes dark, winding path to the other side. And that takes a lot of patience, takes a lot of compassion with ourselves, and the persistence and the desire to like not stop till you get to the other side.
Yeah.
It doesn't come easy, right?
No,
You have to
no.
clear yourself, basically.
And you got to work for it if you want
There's no magic bullet. There's no book you're going to read. There's no person you're going to talk to who is going to just snap their fingers and do it for you, or do it, and it's all going to change. It is a consistent daily practice, sometimes 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, of really going into those deep, dark places within us, that lower chakra stuff, and making friends with that instead of denying it, having tea with it, asking it what it needs, what's it want, and going into other lifetimes, going into your own sacred heart, and conjoining or opening and clearing the heart, the high heart, the energy field, to align more deeply with with source, with the truth of who you are. Remembering.
Somebody said that when they say that you're activating your feminine energy or your masculine energy, feminine would be the heart and masculine would be the head. Is that something you believe?
That's a good analogy. And the whole masculine feminine balancing, we haven't even gotten into that yet. Like that's a whole nother,
That's another
station.
story.
That's a whole nother station. But yes, merging the thought with the feelings. That's a part of the masculine and feminine balancing, understanding what it means to be to balance your masculine and feminine doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't mean you become an androgynous being. We both have masculine and feminine within us, and the distortions between men and women, masculine and feminine, has become so, so intense and clear cut. So beginning to understand where you hold victim as the feminine, where you hold power over as the masculine, what all that means, and untangling that is part of the whole process too.
Years ago, you told me there was more chakras than, I always thought the chakra ended at the crown. You said there was 13 chakras. It's not wildly known, but I see it being more adapted. When you say high heart, could you tell us a little bit
So
about?
heart is right here in the heart center. The high heart is here at the thymus.
Okay.
So the thymus gland is the high heart. The high heart is for receiving. The heart is for giving. Many of us have, open hearts. We give, but we forget to receive or accept, or we forget, that the high heart is about all the cool things we set up for ourselves before we come here, all the people we need, all the opportunities we need, the abundance, and yes, the money and the resources that we need to have a good life here. So many of us, because humans have a tendency to lack self-worth or feel like we don't deserve the cool stuff in life, we shut down our high heart, we shut down our receiving, and we give it all away, or we become people pleasers, or we put other people first before our own needs and don't have the boundaries, because part of self-love is a no when we mean no, and not a yes when we mean yes, right?
Yeah.
And that actually that's not even a throat thing, the saying no when we mean no. It's solar plexus, courage and confidence coming up through to let the throat let the heart and high heart activate so the throat can speak truth. So 13 chakras is what I study and I teach, starting from the earth star beneath your feet, moving all the way up to the stellar gateway or the golden gateway, which is right, the 12th chakra. And then the 13th is actually right in the center of the body between the heart and the solar plexus. That's your 13th chakra. So that might be a interview for another day. But that 13th master chakra is what is trying to open within all of us. That is allowing us to complete that circuit of the 13 chakras that align with the 13. I'm looking at your Metatron's cube sphere back there, the 13 spheres in Metatron's cube, which is a template for the balance of the masculine and feminine.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know. I got all this. I got classes on that too, by the way. If anybody's interested in sacred geometry, the basics, on my website, I have a intro to sacred geometry course that I'll take you all the way through all the different forms of geometry and into Metatron's cube and the esoteric meanings behind them.
It's really different when you're working with a teacher as opposed to reading a book. For some reason, it just goes deeper and you get it.
Well, you can question and answer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. I remember you had a book on the chakras. Is that it's a child's book?
Yeah, I did. I wrote a kid's book. Hold on, I'll grab it real quick. I just happen to have it handy right here.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
Yeah, called Body of Stars. And it is a book that takes children from about, age 6 to 12 through all the chakras from the earth star beneath the feet to the crown. And it's very beautifully written, and the images are very beautiful. And there's a little art project at the end. So yeah, I have that available. It's good for kids of all ages. If you're brand new to chakras, I have lots of adults who buy this book.
I want to get one for my grandkids. I think they'd really enjoy it.
Yeah,
My oldest one, she's seeing orbs and things, and
cool.
the little one who's 4, he is talking about frequencies,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Wow. So you have New Earth children at your
Yeah.
feet. That's
We did a
exciting.
moment, it's been like a year or two ago. He was explaining to us that there's holes in the ground and blue energy comes out of them. He was explaining that there's different frequencies that come out of these and what it does for us in the world. And we're just sitting there like,
Wow. I mean, did you record him and take notes? And
We should have.
we
you
were,
ask him where the holes were?
You know, it always happens when you're not expecting
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
sure.
You don't know that it's going to be something profound, you know, when it's a little kid, but I would pay attention to what they're saying for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
So, you have so many things that are fascinating. You have some crystals that, Andara.
Andaras, yes.
Andara.
I work with and sell or adopt out Andara crystals, which come in all these beautiful colors and sizes. And I even have, I don't know if you guys are into skulls, but the little Andara skulls as
Oh
well.
my gosh, they're so cool.
All kinds. I have all kinds of Andaras, and I actually break these down into a dust, into a powder, and micronize them into dust. And then I have a clothing company, a sacred geometry clothing company called Wisdom Wear. And I put the Andara dust, the crystal dust, into my clothing, into the ink of the sacred geometry.
That is so
Cool.
cool and unique. You're the only one who does that as far as I know.
Yeah, pretty much. And so everything's on organic fabrics. Bamboo is my favorite. Always do some hemp and some cotton. So you get the crystals and the sacred geometry, you know, in your energy field.
That's amazing. I've heard some people say that they buy those shirts all the time, and it just kind of amps up the energy for feeling like high vibing.
Well, and there are, you know, there are 3 things in this world that are projective. Everything else is reflective. So the 3 things in the world that are projective are light bulbs, they project, Rudraksha seeds, which are the little Hindu mala beads that they make. They come off of trees in the sacred forest. There's actually a sacred forest on Kauai. The little Hindu mala beads, they're Sanskrit mantras. Those are projective. The other thing that is projective is sacred geometry, which means when you wear my clothes, the sacred geometry that is on you will project out into the world and affect other people in your sphere, which is very, very cool. So not only is it only healing for, you know, your aura and for you, but you actually send something healing through the crystals and the geometry out to everybody you come in contact with. And, you know, when you wear my clothes, people be drawn to the prints. They might not even know what they are, but because they're trans, you know, they belong to all of us. So people will come up and like notice the print, and it will do something to help harmonize the right and left hemispheres of their brain. And I actually have a vision through Wisdom Wear to put 144,000 people in my crystal infused sacred geometry clothing, because, you know, that's the ascension number, right? That's a very special spiritual number. So I feel like when there's 144,000 people wearing my crystal infused sacred geometry clothing, that we will create our own vibrational tipping point for the collective, like all of us together. So that's kind of the goal and the vision through Wisdom Wear.
What a cool idea.
We'll have to have
Everybody plays, everybody wins.
Where do I go to shop and find all these incredible?
So you can find the clothes and the crystals at wisdomwear.org, exactly how it's spelled, wisdomwear.org. And my shop is on there, and I have not only clothes and crystals, but my courses and meditations also, and the book. And then if you are interested in a healing session with me, or taking a course with me or whatever, AmeeraAtlantis.com, and they're together. You can get to AmeeraAtlantis.com through Wisdomware. You can get through Wisdomware through AmeeraAtlantis.com.
That's incredible. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on today. And I know that your message is going to help people have a little more understanding of what's going on.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Because we're
Good,
all,
I hope so.
I know.
it's fascinating.
I was lucky enough to have you to go to when I first started waking up. So not everybody has that, but I definitely recommend taking classes with Ameera. I've known her for what would we say, like 10 years.
Yeah.
We're there.
And look at you now, girl, hosting your own show.
That's amazing.
I'd wake up from having a download and I'd tell Christy this really weird thing just happened and trying to explain it to her. And she's like, oh, got a download. I'm like, okay, what does it mean?
Yeah.
That's always the question.
But interestingly enough, a lot of them, you just have to wait.
Yeah.
And your life will come to the answer. As you're walking through your life, all of a sudden you'll have that epiphany. It'll make sense all out of nowhere.
And even if you consciously can't discern or figure out what the download or the message means, your subconscious and your soul knows.
Right.
So always just trust your soul.
I say that all the time. Trust your gut.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It knows.
Yeah,
Well, we're going to have you back on our show again, and
I'd love to.
amazing topics we've been talking about. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy it's earlier there. You're 5 hours.
Oh, it's only 2:00 in the afternoon. I got all day. I'm gonna go
Enjoy
to the
the
beach.
sunshine and the beautiful ocean. And if anybody's ever been to Hawaii, especially Kauai, you're gonna know that there's a special energy there, and just soak it up.
Yep,
Have some
exactly.
truly fresh pineapple for us.
Yay, I will.
Well,
Thank you for allowing me to express myself.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye bye
Aloha.
now.